much, Jenna. Well, I'm glad to be with you today. I'm not much of a stand behind the podium type of person, so I'm hoping you can see everything okay. And this table may be in the way of you getting some of my jokes. And so if it is, I will read them out loud for you, okay? So like she said, I work in Sandy at a place called White Peaks Therapy, awesome clinic there. I love working in trauma, and I love being a marriage and family therapist, because what people don't realize is how much past trauma affects our current relationships. So I'll mention that, but the main thing we want to talk to you about here is how we help our clients find post-traumatic growth. I want to introduce you to my favorite plant in the whole world. Mine is not this small. I actually was going to bring it to you, but I would have needed one of those dolly things, and I was like, it ain't worth it. So this is called a Tradescantia. Some people know it as a wandering Jew, but that is not quite as politically correct. But it is a beautiful, beautiful plant. But when I first got it, my son-in-law was moving from, SUU, to marry my daughter. And he has a bazillion plants. And he handed me this pot, that cheapo pot that it comes in from the store with the holes in the bottom. And it was completely dead, like, you know, when dirt is actually dehydrated, it's pulled away from the side, and it had these 1/4-inch sticks sticking out of the dirt, like probably 40 of them, but it was like dead. So I went to throw it away, and he's like, no, don't throw it away, just water it. He says, you can have it. Just put put enough water on the top that it kind of pools up, let it soak in, ignore it for a week, do it again. I was like, well, in my house, that's the only way a plant is going to survive, because I have killed everything live in my plant except for 4 children and some dogs. So I started watering it, and sure enough, within a couple weeks, these beautiful little green furry leaves started coming out the top, and I was like, what the heck? And it has quickly become my favorite plant. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why it's my favorite. This is about a month ago. You can see how big that one on the left is, and I'm always giving starts to people because of how much I love this plant. And this is me kind of cleaning it out and making some starts. And what you'll notice is let's see, where's my little pointer? Right there in the center, you're going to see that down near the soil, if you ignore it long enough, the leaves down at the bottom will turn into like a purple paper. The leaves turn purple when they get enough sunlight, and they will turn papery and die off. And after a while, if you really ignore it like that red, that's not the right button. Hold on. I can do this. Okay, so if you look at the red there, you'll see a really long vine that's been completely died. Those leaves have died off. So what I typically do then is cut it off. You can see all the places, the little nodes where the leaves were. And I will just shove it in some dirt. You don't have to start any roots. You don't have to go through any effort. I literally will just take a butter knife, shove it down in the pot, and I will make new starts. That's all you have to do. It will never wilt. It's just this amazing plant. Now, the other cool thing about it is you don't even have to stick it down in the dirt. All I have to do is, if I want to wrap it around the top of the dirt, just sit it on top, water it once a week. Everywhere where those nodes are will grow roots down below and leaves out the top. It's the coolest plant ever, right? So, this is one that sometimes I'll go to water it or move it, and a branch will just break off. And I don't worry about it. I literally remove the bottom leaves, take a butter knife, shove it down in the pot, twist it around, stick the thing in there, pat the dirt back in, ignore it. That's why it lives at my house, okay? So in the end, this is a lot like our clients. We're all really aware of post-traumatic stress disorder, right? It's the most common disorder we hear about when it comes to trauma. It's certainly not the only one, but it is a very common one, and it can be very devastating for families and for people that have to suffer with this. But what I want you to know is that just like that plant, what I learned from that plant is that every single place where a leaf has been lost, where loss has occurred, is an opportunity for growth. Every single time. And when we have clients with post-traumatic stress disorder, they have depression, they have anxiety, they have dissociative disorders from trauma, you need to understand first, before you can help them see, that every place they have experienced loss is an opportunity for growth. And when we help them on that path, and we know how to lead them on that path, they can experience what has to be known as post-traumatic growth. It's a real thing, right? Lots of studies show that they can actually grow from those experiences. So today, here's some of the things we're going to cover. Now, let me ask real quick, how many of you in here are clinicians? You're therapists of some kind. Great. How many of you here are something else? Okay, how many of those of you are in like education, nonprofits, that kind of thing? I know we have DCFS people I've met up here. Who else have we got real quick? Shout it out. High school? Okay, great. Who else? Yes. Okay, legal stuff. Good. I was going to say high school is traumatic by itself. That's a whole nother presentation, though, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to skip over a few things, but just know that in the handouts that are available to you online in this class, you have my slides. So don't feel like you have to take notes. Just sit back, soak it in. You can look it up later. You can call me if you miss something. We'll get you everything you need. But I also may quickly skip over some of the slides just because I have so much information that I want you to have in your resources, but we may not have time to cover everything, okay? Again, you can call me anytime. We'll chat. I'll give you, and all the resources are listed at the end of the slides as well. So we're going to talk about what is trauma and what does it have to do with you. Okay, some of you may not, specialize in trauma, but we're going to show you how it does apply to you. We're going to teach you some basic important terms you need to understand when you're working with trauma. 6 key principles to trauma-informed care. That's probably one I'll go over pretty quickly. That could be a whole presentation in itself. And then this part, the 3-stage trauma-informed recovery process. I want this so stuck in your head by the time you leave that when you have a trauma client in front of you, you can understand where they are and where you need to lead them through next. And then a little bit about avoiding compassion fatigue, because if you're going to work with traumatic victims, it can wear your butt out, right? And you have to have the skills to be mentally healthy yourself to continue working with trauma victims. And the sad thing is, we don't want you to stop working with trauma victims. But if you become traumatized and get secondary traumatic stress yourself, you're not going to be much use to yourself or anyone else. So those are the things we're going to cover quickly. I love Brené Brown. Everybody loves Brené Brown, right? And this is one of her most famous quotes: lean into the discomfort of the work. Sitting in front of another human being and looking in their eyes while they tell you the most horrendous stories that most of the time they have never told anyone else is a sacred place. It's a sacred place to be. It's why I love it. Okay, so let's talk about what is trauma. SAMHSA, that is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration of the government. This is their definition of what is trauma. Individual trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening. Pause there. Notice highlighted is the word experienced. That's why this lovely presenter this morning said, I never had a hand laid on me, but you think that's not absolutely terrifying and life-threatening to a child to watch their parent get the crap beat out of them? It's just as damaging to the child or anybody who has that experience. Okay, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a good memorizer. I'm not going to memorize that definition. To me, the best definition is anything that overwhelms the mind's ability to deal with it, right? It's just too much, and we don't know what to do with that. So we have